here we are with a brand new Patreon-sponsored request review from Brendan Stewart. And frankly, after watching the show he asked me to review, I'm jacking up the price for Patreon request reviews from now on.
Have you ever felt like this? How strange things happen. Are you going round a twist? Have you ever felt like this?
Greetings all, I'm Dubious Khan, and welcome into the Idiot Box, a showcase of the best, worst, and weirdest that television has to offer. And while my focus is usually just on TV programs that aired in the United States, for this special request review, I was asked to look at an Australian kids series. And after watching all 52 episodes, I only have one question. What the hell is wrong with you, Australia?
What's he doing? Oh, he's not. That's terrible tragedy, ladies and gentlemen. Griff's is looking at the unmentionable. That can't go on.
Yeah, that aired on television in Australia, on a kids show, in a country that routinely bans violent video games but apparently thinks this is just fine for kids to see on TV. This is the appropriately named Round the Twist. Round the Twist was a production of the Australian Children's Television Foundation and was originally based on the short stories of children's author Paul Jennings. The series revolves around the Twist family, consisting of widower artist Tony Twist and his 3 kids, 13-year-old twins Linda and Pete, and 8-year-old Bronson. At the beginning of the series, the family moves to the small coastal town of Port Naranda and into the town's historic lighthouse. What follows is a series of weird and bizarre events that happen in and around the town. Think Gravity Falls, but with more reliance on gross-out humor and all the usual nonsense that tended to come with 90s live-action kids series. Surprisingly, the show was actually around for about 11 years, airing from 1989 to 2001. But this isn't quite as impressive as it sounds, because over the course of those 11 years, only 4 seasons were ever produced, for a grand total of 52 episodes. The first season premiered in 1989, the second in 1992, and the third in 2000, with the fourth following the year after. Naturally, with such a long time between seasons, this meant the show was constantly recast, especially the roles of the kids on the series. The episodes of the series are largely not continuity heavy, with each episode more or less standing on its own. However, each season does have an overarching plotline where some unusual event happens at the lighthouse, and we don't really find out what it all means until the season finale. Although seasons 3 and 4 also feature a couple of smaller arcs that run about 5 or 6 episodes before being paid off. Unfortunately, the main problem with this is that the show is almost completely unwatchable. This show is like every bad 90s live-action kids show trope combined into 52 episodes of aggravating crap. There's no end to the cliches. Weird filming choices, cramming cartoon-style gags into disturbing live-action sequences, unconvincing special effects, and worst of all, unlikable characters. Now, to be fair, you start off really liking the Twists at the beginning of the series. Tony Twist is a quirky artist, single father, and there's a lot of humor to be mined from his performance, especially because actor Richard Moore in seasons 1 and 2 is extremely charismatic and engaging, and you really like the guy. Unfortunately, he contracted Parkinson's disease after season 2, and as a result, the role was recast with a much less charismatic actor for seasons 3 and 4. As for the kids, aside from the show trying to play up some unfunny character elements, Linda specifically is like an amalgamation of every bad feminist stereotype you've ever seen. They're largely likable too at the beginning. But, of course, in any show like this, there are supposed to be characters you're not supposed to like, because there's always an antagonist. In the case of Round the Twist, those antagonists are largely the Gribble family, led by realtor and later mayor of Port Naranda, George Gribble. George is constantly obsessed with making money, to the point that we see he even has that most obnoxious of all cliches, pajamas emblazoned with dollar signs that he wears to bed. Honestly, the only way this could possibly be even more cliche is if Gribble wore boxer shorts with dollar signs painted on them. In fact, I'm surprised that didn't actually happen, given this show's fascination with bottom-of-the-barrel humor. But more on that in a minute. We also have Matron Gribble. That's not her name, just her title. We never do find out what her actual name is. She's just as money-obsessed as her husband and usually goes along with whatever harebrained scheme Gribble has going, but to her credit, when an actual medical emergency happens, she abruptly remembers her profession and moves in to help. The Gribbles also have a son, James, often referred to as Gribbs, who, along with his two toadies, Tiger and Rabbit, is basically every 90s bully you've ever seen.
Your lunch money, Elroy. Or else. Or else what? Skunkman!
Unhand that boy or I'll be forced upon you.
Let's see if you talk big without your mask.
Yeah.
The main conflict, if you want to call it that, between the Gribbles and the Twists is that Gribble is constantly trying to either get Tony to sell him the lighthouse or trick him into selling him the lighthouse, so that he can take the land and do something else with it. In most of the episodes, he's trying to turn it into a tourist attraction, although sometimes he just wants the land the lighthouse is on in order to facilitate whatever scheme of the week he's got going on. But this begs a very important question. Namely, in the first episode, we see a sign for Gribble Realty indicating the lighthouse has been sold, and then we see the Twists moving in. Well, if Gribble wants the lighthouse so badly, why the hell did he sell it to the Twists in the first place? One second he's showing up to welcome the Twists to the lighthouse, the next episode he's trying to get them out of it. This show never does anything to explain what the hell Gribble's motivations are and why he suddenly wants the lighthouse. Now, this antagonist kind of gets sidelined in Season 2 when Gribble decides to run for the Australian Senate, but by Season 3 it's right back to getting the lighthouse. As far as other recurring characters go, we have Faye, who is Bronson's teacher, who ultimately ends up in a romantic relationship with Tony and ends up moving into the lighthouse and having a kid with Tony. Then there's Pete and Linda's teacher at the same school, who frankly is such an insufferable jackass I can't even be bothered to remember his name. And then there's Nell, the Twist's neighbor, whose family had been caretakers of the lighthouse forever. Again, not really explained why it is that she's still not caretaking the lighthouse. But she's cranky and irascible and is usually the first one to shoot down whatever scheme Gribble's got planned for the current episode. Now, as far as the Twist kids themselves, like I said, they do start off okay, but by the end of the series, they're really insufferable. Pete's your typical 13-year-old boy, wants to be popular, wants a girlfriend, all that jazz. But by the end of the series, he's a self-absorbed jackass who breaks up with the girl he's going out with and spends the rest of the season trying and failing to get her back. Linda's obsessions tend to change from season to season. In the first season, she's a staunch feminist. By the fourth, she's changed into an equally self-absorbed New Age Enlightenment seeker. And then there's Bronson. Bronson is stupid and disgusting. Seriously, those are his defining character traits. He constantly uses malapropisms, which are meant to be funny but are actually tired and cliched. He has an obsession with weird food combinations and a really disturbing attraction to bad smells. This is actually a subplot in the last 2 seasons. In Season 3, Bronson literally does not wash his feet or even take off his shoes and socks for 6 months in order to build up as rancid a stink as he can. It's revealed he's doing so in order to keep Gribbs and his gang from harassing a sea turtle trying to lay its eggs, but still. And in Season 4, he has an actual device designed to collect rancid smells, which he then uses to become an alleged superhero called Skunk Man, a career he cut short when he apparently shits himself by accident. And there is a lot of shit in this series. And I don't mean that in a figurative sense. I mean that there are episodes where literal shit is either a major plot point or the whole focus of an episode. In the very first episode, Pete loses a dental plate down the toilet and the kids go to the local waste treatment plant to recover it, where they are shown a variety of objects that are still covered in dried shit. Episode 2 sees Pete and Linda trying to escape a house that is covered in bird shit. In Season 2, the kids find a hat made out of a dead cat, which causes people to copy the actions of anything the hat sees. This results in the clip you saw at the beginning of this video, where Gribbs literally eats shit because he's copying the actions of a dog. The worst offender in this department is episode 12 of season 2, which isn't a really weird episode, but focuses on Bronson accidentally feeding a $200 opal belonging to Nell to a goat. The entire episode is just Bronson wandering around town waiting for the goat to shit out the opal and pawing through said goat shit in front of everyone without explaining why the hell he's doing it. But you know, the shit is only the start of the truly disturbing things this show likes to throw at you. A major red flag happens in episode 4 of season 1, the Cabbage Patch fib, when Bronson literally finds a baby in the Twist's Cabbage Patch. Fame soon follows, but by the same token, everybody expects this 8-year-old to take care of the infant by himself. Now, admittedly, this is because the baby holds its breath anytime someone other than Bronson holds it, but you can't expect this to take its toll after a while. And Bronson's solution to the matter?
Sorry, baby. It's just not working out. This is the best thing for both of us. Okay? Goodbye. Sorry.
Yeah, he just puts the baby down and walks away, letting it hold its breath, presumably waiting for it to suffocate itself. We're 4 episodes into this series, and we're already witnessing an 8-year-old attempting to commit infanticide. Eventually, the Cabbage people, and I cannot believe I just said that, come for the baby and the Twists get rid of the cabbages the next day. Then in the very next episode, where the kids get a hold of a remote control that affects reality, they inflict some petty revenge on the Gribble gang after the bullies use the remote to cheat at a spaghetti eating contest.
No. No. No.
Yes.
Yes!
Yes.
The next episode, Wonder Pants, features frog cannibalism and outright frog murder.
Yes, he's coming down!
And that's all just in season 1. In season 2, the show gets even more disturbing and disgusting. In addition to the aforementioned shit-eating and pawing through goat feces, we also have episodes where Bronson wins a literal pissing contest after he befriends a water spirit, and Pete becomes a trash magnet, which naturally finishes up with yet another shit gag.
Tell him to pull up the earring!
Continuing our parade of wrong, Season 3 features a cavalcade of disturbing concepts, starting with a really disturbing biology lesson.
Now that we're having a baby.
What?
It's different for dryads. Once a man wees on the tree and you hold hands and kiss, you can't avoid it. Don't be silly. Dryads can't have babies. That's why you're having it.
What?
In 2 days, you're going to be a mother.
Yes, Pete is pregnant from pissing on a tree. Do I even have to make a joke here? And it gets even worse than that. I mean, how about an episode where the focus is on Bronson's genitals? Seriously. In the episode Whirling Derfish, Bronson accidentally swallows a whirling derfish, which swims in a corkscrew-like manner. This has the following result.
That weird aquarium fish swimming around inside me. Whenever I get my you-know-what not wet, spin out.
Yes, Bronson's penis is now spinning like a propeller. This episode is requiring its audience to imagine an 8-year-old's genitals doing something they shouldn't. I'm pretty sure I just ended up on a watch list for saying those 2 sentences out loud. But it's even worse than you think, because not only does this happen, not only does this, for some reason, make Bronson a great swimmer, it actually enables him to fly.
You never told me you could fly!
I only just worked it out.
Spin out!
I don't even know how to react to that! But you know, let's just fly everything in the face of basic biology when in another episode, thanks to a mishap, Pete and Linda's brains just fly out of their bodies and have an adventure. Never mind the fact that they should just, be dead, but even allowing for that, brain damage should be happening here because of all the things they go through. But nope, they're just fine afterwards. Oh, you're still not disgusted enough yet? Okay, let's see what happens when an ice cream vendor comes to town.
Cool.
Well, that'll cure you from ever wanting to enjoy life again. But we're still not done. In season 4, Pete gets bitten by a vampire flea and falls in love with a dog.
Miss Offenbach, you understand me. You care about me. I wish I could be with you forever.
And finally, just to ensure that the government follows my every move from now until the day I die, we come to episode 3 of season 4, Linda Godiva. And yes, it's exactly what you think it is. Well, okay, maybe not exactly, but yeah, Linda finds a perfume bottle which, rather than containing perfume, instead causes her to become invisible. Just her, not her clothes.
If all that's visible are my clothes, then off with them! Free at last, I can strip away the mundane layers of existence and be who I really am. Linda Twist, spiritual adventurer, naked and unashamed. I can show my true self to the world without anyone actually seeing. Yahoo!
Linda has some fun with her newfound freedom, and admittedly, after a while, you start to forget that she's actually running around naked. But then the show decides to remind you.
Linda, you know how you're invisible and everything?
Yeah?
Well, how come I can't see your clothes?
Because I'm not wearing any!
Yeah, that's not awkward at all, riding a horse at full speed behind your brother when you're nude. Now, to the show's credit, Pete does have the only logical reaction you can have to this revelation.
That's information!
But in case this didn't make you uncomfortable enough, here's how the episode ends.
Uh-oh, turn on! Hold on.
Linda, what are you doing?
Doing my best not to show my true self to the world anymore!
Now, admittedly, the briefness of this shot and the lighting kind of indicates that what we're actually seeing is a body double, but still, that doesn't mitigate the fact that the show is asking us to believe what we're seeing is a naked 13-year-old girl on a horse. And my channel just got declared restricted content on YouTube. Thanks, Round the Twist! But the sad thing is, when the show isn't being disgusting or disturbing, it can actually be pretty good at times. Most of the season finales are watchable and occasionally really well put together. Other decent to well done episodes include The Copy, Without My Pants, Nails, Granddad's Gifts, and Tears of Innocence. As far as the rest of the episodes go, well, they're all just kind of boring and forgettable. In fact, that's one of the major flaws of this series. Most of the time, the episodes don't really have a conclusion. They just stop. It's like the writers wrote to the 25-minute mark and just called it a day, usually ending on some pathetic gag with no real conclusion to anything, and then the next episode just starts up. In fact, for all the weirdness that happens in this show, the characters never seem to remember any of it unless it feeds into a plot point in a later episode. They're constantly surprised and confused by what happens around Port Noranda. Ghosts are a frequent plot device in this series, and yet everybody acts like it's their first time seeing them every time. Nobody learns anything in this series. There is no character development because everything just gets reset at the beginning of the next episode. Despite countless humiliations, countless outwittings, and countless comeuppances, Gribbs and his two goons don't get it through their heads that maybe they shouldn't be bullying the Twists all that often because weird shit tends to happen around them. And the same goes for George in his attempts to get the lighthouse or turn Port Noranda into a tourist trap. Every time the whole town rallies against him, usually led by the Twists, and he's the frigging mayor of the town. Why is he getting elected? And as for the Twists themselves, like I said, you start off liking them, but by about halfway through season 3, you're just as done with them as you are every other character in this series. And that's really the problem with this series. It feels like it's constantly spinning its wheels, going for the lowest common denominator. It has no respect for the intelligence of its target audience, choosing instead to focus on disgusting humor, and when it isn't, it chooses to do stories every other kids show has done. It might be a little edgier, given that Australia is apparently allowed to put some of this stuff on the air, as opposed to America's networks, but I say this without hyperbole. Round the Twist is one of the worst series I've had to suffer through. Now, I mentioned that this show is based on the short stories of author Paul Jennings, and Jennings was involved in the writing, but he left the series after season 2, and frankly, you can see the drop in quality. Most of the good episodes I mentioned do come from those first 2 seasons, while the last 2 are a real slog to get through. In fact, you'd be better off just avoiding this spectacular pile of literal crap altogether. But if you absolutely must witness this disaster of a TV series for yourself, well, it's available on YouTube on the official Round the Twist YouTube channel. You just do a search for Round the Twist and you'll find it. In fact, I'll do you one better. There's a link in the description below. I'm Dubious Khan, and I'm going to go jack up the cost for Patreon request reviews in the future. Because if I have to suffer through crap like this from you people, you're going to pay through the nose for it. Join me next time for another trip into the Idiot Box.